warm welcome to this special episode of ETGovernment's Digital India Leadership Series. My name is Anoop Verma. Today, our guest for this special episode is Amrit Manwani. He is the chairman of Sahasra Group of Companies. His company, Sahasra Electronics Private Limited, is ranked amongst the fastest growing electronics companies in India. During the course of today's conversation, Mr. Manwani will help us in analyzing the state of electronics and semiconductor ecosystem in India. He will offer his insights on the kind of policies, strategies, and initiatives that the government and private sector in India should have for growing the semiconductor and electronics manufacturing industry in India. Welcome, Mr. Manwani.
Thank you very much. And good morning to all the viewers.
In the last 5 years, the central government has taken a number of policy measures to attract investments in the electronics space. The PLI scheme is there for intensifying the investments in the sector. Some big investments like those of Micron, TSMC, Tata's, and other groups have also happened. So what kind of growth can we expect in the electronics in the next 5 years, in the time of the Modi 3.0 government?
Well, as per the Government of India projections, as of today, for example, the electronic manufacturing turnover in the country is about $120 to $130 billion. In the next 6 years, that is by 2030, as per Honorable Prime Minister's vision, this should at least quadruple, so 4x times. And therefore, it might go up to $500 billion. So that's the kind of growth that the country envisages in electronic manufacturing.
Your company, Sahasra Electronics, recently took out an IPO, which was oversubscribed by several times. I think 130 times?
Yeah, it was, to be precise, 122 times.
Okay. So what kind of work is Sahasra doing in the electronics and semiconductor space?
Okay, we consider ourselves the technology company in the electronics domain. And we have three verticals, if I may say so. One vertical is the electronic component vertical, where we, in one of our companies, we make printed circuit boards. And now we have also set up a plant for semiconductor packaging. So that's one vertical where we say it's a component vertical. The second vertical is EMS. The company that went to IPO was in the EMS vertical. So in EMS, we do the PCB assembly with mounting components on the PCBs, and then further testing, and also sometimes the customer may require box build or wire connections or wire harnesses, as they are called. So that is the second vertical that we do. And the third vertical is the final product. So for example, we make LED lights in our factory in Rwanda, East Africa. Similarly, now we are doing, we have an MOU with a international company, a European company. In their brand, we make laptops and tablets for them. Similarly, there are one or two companies in India for whom we are looking at making tablets, educational tablets and laptops for them. And also, we are in the servers business. So servers is also a final product. So thanks to our joint venture with Mytech Taiwan, which is a Fortune 500 company, we have the knowledge and the equipment supported by Mytech. So we can make motherboards for data servers. So we make the complete servers now. And again, we have a tie-up with a Taiwanese company through their Indian arm, where we will be making the complete servers for them for the India market, and going forward, maybe for the international market.
So who are your main customers in India and abroad? You said this, you are supplying something for Africa, some European countries, but some other customers in India.
Okay, to begin with, let me explain that when Sahasra Electronics was started in the year 2000. Sahasra is a Sanskrit word which means millennium. So rather than call it Millennium Electronics in 2000, we called it Sahasra Electronics. So we have this experience in this domain for the last 20 years. The company which went public, that was started in 2020. So that has a 4-year track record. But both these companies are based in the Special Economic Zone, the Noida Special Economic Zone. So by virtue of being in the SEZ, we predominantly export. So we export almost 70 to 75% of our product overseas, mainly to the US. and some of the very large clients in the US. Now they are in, they may not be very big known name in India, but they are mid-sized companies anywhere from $10 million to $50 million. So we do business with Teledyne, we do business with Fortive Group, Cetra. Then there is a company in data management called LabJack, a security company called Health. So we do business with a variety of companies. Now, just from a brand name point of view, we ran a program with a company in the US where we used to make speedometers, electronic speedometers, which eventually went to in the Harley Davidson motorcycle. So we ran that program for 4 or 5 years. Then that company got bought over, so the business ceased. But those are, so we are in the B2B domain. So these companies in the US or in Europe, they don't necessarily ring a bell with a common man
Yes.
as such. However, so as of today, as we speak, we do about, in terms of exports, we do almost 55 to 60% with the US, about 25% to 30% in Europe, and about 10% in Middle East and Africa. As I said, 70% is overseas and 30% is domestic. So in domestic, as I said, that we have signed an MOU with this Taiwanese company called Acer. They're a big brand in the computer hardware, and we have signed up the MOU with them to make servers for their Indian arm called Altos India. And similarly, there are other companies with whom we are, engaging them. We make in their brand laptops and tablets for the Indian market. In addition, we are also doing EMS work for a few companies, to name some, Spursh, who are in the CCTV security business, and the likes of those companies.
So, like you said that you are operating in the B2B space, but that is something that even the software companies are doing in India. They are also in the basically Infosys, TCS, and other companies. They are also in the B2B space, but very almost. Why is it that we are unable to do something in the B2C space, in software or hardware space? Is it because the investments are too high, or the competition is too much?
No, it's not really that the competition is too much. Or see, to build up a brand, I mean, to do B2C business, you have to have you have to build a brand. Like for example, in IT hardware, you have companies like Dell and HP, or even Apple. So they are big brands. So they have scaled up those operations. So to become a brand first, you have to scale up your operations. And most Indian companies have started small. We have to recognize that in the past, because of India signing the ITA-1 agreement, the manufacturing virtually, at least in the hardware sector, virtually disappeared, because all the products, electronic products, were coming into India at a zero duty regime. So they could not scale up, they could not compete. But now with the encouraging schemes that government of India has rolled out, there is a chance for these companies to scale up. So we know that in the recent years, post the BJP government coming into power, they encouraged Make in India, and therefore some companies have grown to a scale where they can be considered champions in the electronic sector. So they have the potential to become big brands, and therefore they will be able to do business in the B2C arena also.
Okay. So, have you benefited from some government incentives?
Yes, we have PLI recipient for our semiconductors. Also, we are making LED driver chip at the semiconductor factory. So there we have been we have a PLI from DPIIT, which is in the Ministry of Commerce. We have the PLI there, and we also have PLI from the state government, that is government of Rajasthan, where we have the plant. And soon enough, we understand that the PLI for components is going to be rolled out. So both for our PCBs as well as for semiconductors, we would be benefiting from the PLI scheme.
At the recent Semicon India 2024 event, Prime Minister set the target of trebling India's electronics semiconductor manufacturing to around 500 billion and creating about 6 million new jobs. So, what initiatives or measures should the private sector and the government take to ensure that this actually happens and
Well,
we are able to, grow our electronics industry by more than three times?
yeah, actually four times, if I may, say so.
Yes, yes,
From 130 to almost $500
yes.
billion in
500
6
billion.
years. So you are looking at 4x growth. That is achievable because the Indian market is growing very rapidly. There is a huge engineering talent pool in the country. The benefits of the demographic dividend that we have. We have a very large working population, and the Indian workforce, the talent is second to none. So that is possible. And with the government initiative of Make in India, there is definitely potential to reach the target that the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has set. And coupled with that, the government of India through Ministry of Electronics and IT, apart from PLI, they have also come out with, for example, the ISM scheme in the semiconductor domain, the India Semiconductor Mission, where they have given capex subsidy to the extent of 50%, and that is pari passu with the investment. So if a company invests say 100 crores, the government also pulls in 100 crores. Now, besides that, besides the central government giving the support, the state governments are also coming forward. The beautiful thing that the Prime Minister has done is he has created federal competitiveness. So that is leading to the various states competing with each other to attract investment. Whether it is a couple of states in the south like Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. Similarly, in the west it is Gujarat, Maharashtra, and then in the north it is also UP, and other states are also coming out with various attractive schemes. So there is a federal competitiveness, and that will definitely help the electronic industry to grow. Besides, there is a geopolitical content in this. There has been a sentiment, thanks to COVID, there was a logistics challenge with China. So the world, particularly the Western world, has realized that over dependence on one country is not good enough. So they are looking at alternative manufacturing hubs, and India scores very high because not only India has a large talent pool, and it's a large country, so plenty of manufacturing spaces available, but it has its own huge domestic market. So coupled with that, we can scale up very quickly, and we can not only supply to the domestic sector, but we will be able to also supply to the export customers. So both the domestic and exports, the government is trying to create champions in manufacturing. And so $500 billion is, I think, yes, it's a difficult task, but as we say, anybody can achieve a difficult task, but it is the entrepreneurs who can do the impossible.
Now, as you pointed out, the electronics manufacturing and semiconductor manufacturing in the country is increasing every year, and we might reach the target of 500 billion. But the problem is that the imports from China is also increasing. So, why is it that if the electronics imports is or manufacturing increasing, we are unable to reduce the imports from China and other countries?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'll answer it, straight to the point. See, for electronic product manufacturing to take place, you require components, which is semiconductors, other components, and even mechanical items to make a complete product. Now, because there was no ecosystem in the country, and because India was the signatory to ITA 1, and therefore all the electronic components have been coming at zero duty uh, as custom duty. And China had already scaled up in terms of component manufacturing, and before that it was Taiwan and Korea and Japan. So Indian industry, the component industry, could not develop. So as of today, all the components and sub-assemblies are imported from China. So as a result, let's take an example of mobile phones. Our value add in mobile phones, although we are now exporting $10 billion worth of mobile phones, which is expected to rise up to 300% or even more by 2030. The government is forecasting that the export of mobile phones will be $100 billion. However, what is the local content in that mobile phone? What we are doing is predominantly doing the assembly here, but all the components come from overseas, including the bare printed circuit board. So what has to happen is that we have to engage ourselves in deep manufacturing. That means go from assembly level to component level. Now, here again, the government of India has recognized this, so they are coming up with a new scheme of PLI for component manufacturing. Not only the PLI scheme, which will incentivize the revenue, but also the government has come out with a scheme called SPEC scheme, which is Special Promotion of Electronic Component Scheme, where they would give anywhere between 25 to 50% capex subsidy. So with that component PLI and the component SPEC scheme, there will be investments in the component sector, and therefore we will be able to deep dive into it. There's another point that Anupji, I would like to mention is, if India has to become champion or a manufacturing hub for the world, we have to change our mindset. Today, what happens is that we believe in anything made in Japan is very good, anything made in Taiwan is good, Germany or US or even China. But to be successful to the scale that our honorable Prime Minister is envisaging, we have to become a product nation. And to become a product nation, we have to, invest in R&D, R&D of products which are to begin with India specific, and then they can be, tweaked to become global specific. So India has to move from a nation to a product nation. And similarly, even in the semiconductor design, although 20% of all semiconductor design or the VLSI chip design is done in India, but that design is done by the big brands like the Apples or the Microns or Motorola's or GE or the Infineons, ST Micros, etc., etc. We have to develop chips specific to India, and that is the way the country will truly grow.
One of the aspects that have to look into if you want to grow the electronics industry is the market. Where are we going to sell the electronics products that we are manufacturing? For that, we need access to global markets, big markets. So we will be needing trade deals with the countries that can import the goods that are being manufactured here. So do we have that kind of geopolitical clout to access those markets?
Well, the biggest market is the US. Everybody knows that. If you look at
But now they are saying that they are going to put tariffs on it, goods coming from China, India.
Yes, but no country can just survive by themselves. If you look at in the past, the US also put tariffs on Japan at time, but Japan grew, and they continue to cater to the US market. I mean, let's look at the automobile story. Although US government tried to put barriers, import barriers for cars to be imported from Japan. But even today, Toyota and the Hondas sell in big numbers in the US. So they cannot ignore the engineering talent pool that is available in India. So if we design the product here, there can be some arrangement. There'll be joint ventures where Indian companies will invest in the US, and whatever makes sense, we will, do the final assembly in the US, so that we work together with them, and grow for mutual benefits as nations. India is already in the process of signing with the UK, with the European Union, and the talks are going on with the US also. Even in the semiconductor space, US has reached out to India, and we are talking about a semiconductor alliance between the US and India. So, saying that they will put import barriers, etc., that is more of a position that sometimes they take politically. But the world has become a global village, and we are so intertwined with each other. And this is the best opportunity for the country. We have a large engineering talent. We have the best engineering talent in the world, far exceeding other countries. And plus the fact that the demographic dividend. This is the time for India. So as again our honorable Prime Minister said, the next 25 years are Amrit Kal for the country, and by 2047 we definitely would be the leading among the three top leading economies of the world. And I would imagine that manufacturing sector would contribute about 23 to 25% towards that, and definitely electronics, both on the in the digital space as well as the hardware space, will have a major role to play.
Now, as you pointed out, Sahasra IPO was oversubscribed by 122 times. So this shows that the investors have a lot of faith in the company, in the growth potential. So what kind of growth are you expecting in the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years?
Well, it's everybody makes projections. Sometimes projections far exceed whatever you forecast. You are able to do better. Sometimes not as much, depending on whether what kind of tailwinds you have and what kind of headwinds you encounter. But one thing is certain, that we have been in this technology sector of electronics, and technology is going to drive. And we have an R&D department where we are engaged in designing at the chip level as well as the product level. So we believe that today, as a group, we have 5-6 companies within the group. As a group, we are about a 350 crore company, but we have potential based on our growth prospects in semiconductors as well as in our IT hardware. We have growth prospects of definitely exceeding 12 to 1500 crores. And if we are adequately supported by tailwind, we definitely should get there. The government has been the biggest enabler. The other stakeholders, the market is certainly there, and there is no reason why we should not perform. We have invested in the right areas of semiconductors. We have invested in the right areas of IT hardware. India is going to be the data server capital of the world. There's so much of data that is going to be generated out of the growth as well as the population growth and the economic growth. So that data has to be managed, and therefore India is again saying that data servers have to be made in India. The data storage has to be here rather than in foreign countries, not only because of the demand here, but also because of security concerns. So with that, there is huge demand, and we believe that we can multiply 4 times, in as much as the sector is expected to grow from 130 to $500 billion, 4x growth. I think we can also, as Sahasra Electronics Group as a company, can have a 4x growth in the next 6 years.
That's a very optimistic note. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manwani, for talking to us.
Thank you, Anoop ji. Very nice that you gave me this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you.